Hurry up in the shower. We need to leave soon. I called out, my voice bouncing off the walls. William was taking longer than usual, and I could feel a familiar knot of worry in my stomach. Every year, our families came together for Christmas, and this year, we were already running late. I glanced at the clock on the wall, its hands moving too quickly for my liking. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The seconds felt like they were slipping away, teasing me. Just when I thought we might be okay, I realized I couldn't find my earrings. William, I shouted again, pacing back and forth. I really didn't want to be late, not this year. Memories of past Christmases flooded my mind, filled with family, laughter, and a little bit of chaos. I often found myself searching for things at the last minute. As I walked past the bathroom, the door was wide open. Peeking inside, I saw William, fresh from the shower, standing there with a pastel orange towel on his head, one I didn't even know we owned. He swayed side to side, lost in his own little world. I couldn't help but giggle. Stop being silly. We're running late. Have you seen my earrings? I tried to sound serious, but laughter bubbled up inside me. Then I walked into the bedroom and spotted a glimmer on the bedside table. There they were, my earrings, shining in the morning light. Never mind, I found them, I yelled, relief flooding through me. Turning back, my eyes landed on a painting of a lighthouse hanging on our wall. William had a knack for finding the strangest things at local markets, and this painting was no different. The lighthouse towered over a jumble of colorful blobs that looked like a chaotic crowd of people. I always thought it was a bizarre choice, even for him. At the bottom, the words "Jolly Good Fellows" were etched, but I never understood what it meant. Maybe it was just a reflection of his quirky taste. I found myself chuckling again, warmth spreading through me as I thought about how much I loved his uniqueness. But my happy moment was interrupted when I struggled to get the second earring in. I poked myself a bit too hard and winced. Ouch, I muttered under my breath. Maybe I should just take a deep breath and focus. With a sigh, I headed to the bathroom to use the mirror. I glanced over at William, who was still swaying, his back to me. Honey, we really need to go soon. Please get ready, I urged, trying to keep my voice light. Looking in the mirror, I was relieved to see no blood from my earlier mishap. I slipped the second earring in, but I couldn't shake off the worry that he was still just standing there. My patience was wearing thin. Had he even sorted his clothes yet? Honey, come on, I said more firmly this time. I lifted the towel from his face, expecting him to smile or joke about being late. Instead, I was met with a shocking sight. His eyes were wide open, staring straight ahead, his face blank. It was as if he was staring through everything, completely lost. A chill ran down my spine. William? I asked softly, my heart racing. He stopped swaying but didn't seem to react. I gently took his hand, feeling a rush of urgency. Come with me. Let's sit down, I said, trying to sound calm. Something was very wrong. I led him to the bed, where he sank down, his arm feeling strangely limp. Let's get you some clothes, okay? We can talk about what's wrong, I said, my voice soft, hoping to bring him back to reality. I turned to rummage through the wardrobe, glancing back at him. Questions raced in my mind. Did you eat breakfast? What do you want to wear today? I asked, trying to snap him out of it. But he stayed silent, staring blankly. It felt like he couldn't hear me, and my heart sank deeper with every moment. What could be wrong? Suddenly, I realized he wasn't on the bed anymore. Panic set in. Honey? I called, my voice rising. I rushed past the bathroom and gasped when I saw him again. There he was, towel over his head, swaying gently like before. "If you don't respond, I'm calling an ambulance," I said, my heart racing. I needed to know he was okay. What if he had hurt himself? My mind raced with the worst-case scenarios. I quickly dialed emergency services, my hands shaking as I explained the situation. "Please, I think my husband is unresponsive. He won't talk to me," I stammered, barely keeping my voice steady. As I spoke, I glanced at William, who was now kneeling on the bathroom floor, draping the towel over his head again. The swaying continued, and a knot of fear tightened in my stomach. When the paramedics arrived, they were efficient and calm, but I felt a wave of anxiety wash over me. "Will he be okay?" I kept asking, my voice shaky. They assured me they would do everything they could, but I struggled to focus on their words. My mind raced with worry. "William, can you hear me?" I called gently, but he just stared ahead, lost in his own world. The paramedics helped him into a wheelchair, and he didn't resist as they wheeled him toward the ambulance. I stayed close, asking more questions, each one a desperate plea. "Will he be all right? What do you think is wrong?" They continued to reassure me, but their words felt distant, like echoes fading away. William kept trying to stand up, his eyes still wide and unseeing. They gently pushed him back down, their voices calm but firm. I held onto his hand, desperate to keep him grounded, to remind him I was there. "Stay with me, William. Please, just stay with me," I whispered, trying to reach him. I could feel the warmth of his hand, but he seemed so far away. Where had he gone? As the ambulance bounced along the road, sirens blaring, I fought back tears. My heart raced with fear and confusion. The familiar sounds of the city faded as I focused on the man I loved, the one who had always been my rock. The paramedics talked to each other, checking his vitals and asking questions. But he didn't respond, just kept staring ahead, swaying slightly as if he was caught in a loop. "William, please," I pleaded softly, my voice cracking. "Please come back to me." But he remained unresponsive, lost in whatever world he had slipped into. The ambulance ride felt like forever, each bump sending jolts of anxiety through me. I could feel tears welling up, but I held them back. I needed to be strong for him, to be the anchor he could hold on to. When we arrived at the hospital, the paramedics sprang into action. They wheeled him out, and I hurried alongside them, my heart pounding. "What's going to happen next?" I asked, my voice shaky. "They'll take him inside for further tests. Just hang tight, okay?" One of the paramedics said reassuringly. I nodded, but my mind was a whirlwind of worry. Once inside, they wheeled him away, and I was left standing in the waiting area, feeling lost. I paced back and forth, glancing at the clock, its hands ticking steadily. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Each second felt like an eternity. I could hardly breathe, my heart racing as I waited for news. My thoughts drifted back to earlier him swaying in the bathroom, that strange emptiness in his eyes. What had happened to him? Minutes felt like hours until finally, a doctor approached me, his expression serious yet calm. "Ma'am, we're doing everything we can. Your husband experienced a brief episode of confusion. We're running tests to find out why." I nodded, trying to absorb his words. "Is he going to be okay?" "We're hopeful, but we need more information. I'll keep you updated," he said before walking away. I sank into a nearby chair, my mind racing. Memories of all the Christmas gatherings we'd shared flooded back laughter, warmth, and joy. I couldn't imagine celebrating without him. As I sat there, the minutes dragged on, each tick of the clock echoing in my mind. I thought about how vibrant and full of life he was, his laughter, his quirky sense of humor, the way he found joy in little things. And now, he was somewhere behind those hospital doors, lost to me in a way I couldn't understand. After what felt like forever, the doctor returned. "Your husband is stable, but he's still confused. We're waiting for test results, but it's too soon to say what happened." A wave of relief washed over me, but worry still lingered. "Can I see him?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Yes, but be gentle with him. He might be confused," the doctor warned. I nodded, standing up and following him down the hallway, my heart pounding. Each step felt heavy as I approached his room. When I entered, my breath caught in my throat. There he was, lying in a hospital bed, looking small and vulnerable. The beeping machines surrounded him, a stark reminder of how fragile life could be. "William?" I whispered, moving closer. His eyes flickered open, and for a moment, I saw confusion in his gaze. "It's me, sweetheart. I'm right here." "Leah?" he said, his voice hoarse. "What? What happened?" "You had a little episode, but the doctors are taking care of you. You're safe now," I said, gently taking his hand. His grip was weak, but I felt our connection. "I don't remember," he murmured, brow furrowing. "It's okay. You don't have to remember right now. Just focus on getting better," I reassured him, my heart aching at the uncertainty in his eyes. "I'm so sorry for being late," he started, but I shook my head gently. "Don't worry about that right now. Just focus on you. We can celebrate Christmas together once you're feeling better, okay?" He nodded slowly, but I could still see the worry on his face. I knew he was scared. I squeezed his hand, pouring all my love and strength into that simple gesture. "Leah," he whispered. I felt so lost, like I was in a dream. "I know, but I'm here now, and I won't leave your side," I promised, my voice steady. In that moment, I realized just how much he meant to me. The thought of losing him, even for a moment, made my heart ache in ways I couldn't describe. I wanted to be there for him, to help him through this. As the hours passed, the doctors continued to run tests, and I stayed by his side, talking to him, sharing stories, and reminding him of the love we had built together. Slowly, I could see a spark of recognition in his eyes, a flicker of the man I knew and loved. "Do you remember last Christmas?" I asked, trying to lighten the mood. "We made that huge feast and almost burned the turkey?" He chuckled softly, the sound a balm to my worried heart. "Yeah, I remember that. You were so upset about the turkey." I smiled, encouraged by his response. "And you kept saying it was still edible." We ended up ordering pizza, and it turned out to be one of the best Christmases we'd had. "Right," he exclaimed, a small smile breaking through his confusion. "I think that was my favorite part, eating pizza with you and the family." I felt warmth spread through me, grateful that some part of him still remembered those moments. "We'll make new memories this year, I promise," I said, squeezing his hand again. As the night wore on, I watched as he slowly began to regain his strength, his spirit shining through the haze of confusion. The doctors came in periodically to check on him, and with each visit, I felt a sense of relief. They told us it was likely just a temporary episode, but we'd have to wait for more tests to be sure. Finally, as the sun began to rise outside the hospital window, painting the sky in soft hues of pink and orange, the doctor returned with good news. "It looks like your husband is stable, and we believe this was a brief episode of confusion. We'll monitor him for a bit longer, but you should be able to take him home soon." Tears of relief filled my eyes as I looked at William, who was already smiling weakly. "Really? That's amazing," I exclaimed, hugging him tightly. The doctor smiled at our reunion. Just take it easy for the next few days. And if you notice any unusual behavior, don't hesitate to call us. Thank you so much, I said, my heart overflowing with gratitude. As the doctor left, I turned back to William, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. We're going home soon. I can't wait to snuggle up on the couch and watch all our favorite Christmas movies, I said, my excitement bubbling over. Sounds perfect, he replied, his eyes sparkling with renewed energy. Soon, they prepared him for discharge, and I felt a rush of joy as we walked out of the hospital together. The fresh air greeted us, and for the first time in what felt like ages, I could breathe freely again. Leah, William said softly as we stepped outside, I'm so grateful for you. I don't know what I would do without you. My heart swelled at his words. You don't have to worry about that. I'm here for you, now and always, I assured him, knowing that we would face whatever came next together. As we drove home, the familiar sights of our neighborhood filled me with a sense of comfort. We would be okay. We would find joy in the little things, just like we always had. Once home, we collapsed onto the couch, bundled up in blankets, surrounded by the scent of fresh pine from our Christmas tree. I pressed play on our favorite holiday movie, and we settled in, feeling the warmth of love and laughter envelop us. William rested his head on my shoulder, and for the first time that day, I felt a sense of peace. Thank you for staying by my side, he murmured, his voice soft. Always, I replied, my heart full. As the movie played on, I knew that even with the unexpected challenges we faced, we had each other, and that was the greatest gift of all. My husband lay still, showing almost no signs of movement, but I could hear him softly humming a tune. It was a sound so low and soothing that I leaned in closer, desperate to catch every note. The melody started as a gentle hum, but transformed into a raspy breath by the end of each note. It felt like he was holding on to something, his mind caught in a moment that stretched longer than it should. I recognized the tune instantly. It was, For He's a Jolly Good Fellow. Arriving at the hospital felt like stepping into a whirlwind. The bright lights and bustling staff created a chaotic scene around me. Everyone seemed to know exactly where they were headed, while I stumbled along, completely lost in a maze of signs and painted lines meant to guide us. We had just left the ambulance and arrived at his assigned bed before I could fully process what was happening. As soon as they laid him down, the blur of confusion intensified. Ma'am, can we borrow you in the next room? We just need you to fill out some paperwork, one nurse said urgently. Not until I know if my husband is okay, I snapped back, panic rising in my throat. We understand your concern, but to give him the best chance of survival, we need this paperwork done. A doctor will be here shortly, and he's in good hands, she assured me. I wanted to trust her words, but a nagging doubt echoed in my mind. They clearly didn't understand what was happening. I told them he was trying to get up and walk around, but they brushed it aside, believing I was overreacting. Before I could help the lady fill out my husband's personal information, we received shocking news he was missing. He can't be far. Check all entrances. The staff exchanged urgent whispers, their faces turning pale. I was told to stay calm and keep working on the paperwork, but I refused to comply. My heart raced as I imagined him wandering the hospital alone. I tried to run through the hallways, desperate to join the search, but someone stopped me. You can't wander around here alone. It's not safe. I didn't care about their rules. My husband was all that mattered. I didn't want to be escorted out and risk missing him entirely. Determined, I took my search outside. I scoured the parking lot, looking under cars, peering down the streets nearby. Each passing minute felt like an eternity. An hour and a half went by with no word from the hospital. My legs grew tired, but my worry only intensified. Finally, with a heavy heart, I started walking home, hoping he had somehow found his way back. It was a 20-minute walk, and I couldn't imagine how he could navigate the route in his current state. But a sliver of hope pushed me forward. I needed to believe he would be there, waiting for me. As I approached our home, my heart sank. The front windows were smashed, jagged glass littering the pavement below. A pit formed in my stomach. Someone had broken in. Perhaps I should have been more cautious, but my thoughts were consumed with one question. Was my husband inside? My hands trembled as I struggled to insert the key into the lock. Finally, I turned the handle and burst through the door, hardly even noticing whether I had closed it behind me. "Honey, are you here?" My voice echoed in the silence of our home. What I saw next struck me with a mixture of shock and disbelief. There he was, sitting in the bathroom, an orange towel draped over his head, swaying gently as if caught in a trance. A pool of blood collected on the tile floor beneath him, dripping from his right arm. Cuts marked his legs, each one telling a painful story. It seemed he had no concept of the injuries he had sustained. He had smashed the window to return to this very spot, and the injuries meant nothing to him. His mind was fixated only on being anchored in that bathroom, cocooned under the gentle weight of the towel. As I stepped closer, tears filled my eyes. I wanted to reach out and comfort him, but I hesitated. I lifted the towel slightly, hardly noticing how it soaked up the blood. His eyes were red and distant. I wondered if he had blinked since all of this began. The humming continued, a haunting sound that echoed in the silence. I should have called for help immediately, but instead, I just stood there, staring into his eyes, willing him to look back at me. I wanted my husband back, the man who had filled my life with laughter and love. With a gentle motion, he lifted his arm and pulled the towel back over his face, blocking me from his gaze. I don't know how long I stood there, sobbing. "Please talk to me. I love you," I whispered, my heart aching with each passing second. The gentle humming could have felt comforting, but the slight inconsistency in its rhythm was a painful reminder that my husband had lost touch with reality. I thought back to all our recent conversations, to everything we had shared. He had always been fascinated by the ocean, a place I never truly understood. The endless waves crashing against the shore felt overwhelming, but he saw beauty in it. He would tell me all sorts of ocean facts, some of which disturbed me. One that haunted my thoughts was the old tradition of covering sailors' faces with towels when they passed away at sea. Once they were back on land, a towel was placed over their face as they awaited help. In the depths of my grief for my still-living husband, I felt an urge to explore. I wandered into the bedroom, seeking some comfort in our shared space. There, I noticed the painting of the lighthouse hanging on the wall. The colorful blobs at the bottom, which I had always assumed were just people, suddenly struck me as something different. They weren't just a crowd gathering at the lighthouse. They were dozens of bodies laid out on the shore, pastel towels draped over their faces, awaiting the arrival of those who would take them away. My heart raced as I realized the significance of this imagery. I felt a surge of panic wash over me. Had my husband become one of them? I blinked away the tears as the thought sank in. The weight of the realization was almost too much to bear. Maybe, just maybe, he was there now, forever visiting the lighthouse, staring at the horizon as it swallowed everything he had ever known. I rushed back to the bathroom, my heart pounding. "Honey, please, I need you to come back to me," I begged, kneeling beside him. "I can't lose you. Not like this." He didn't respond, lost in his own world. still humming that haunting tune. I reached out to him, my fingers brushing against the towel. "I love you," I whispered, my voice breaking. "You mean everything to me." His humming faltered for a moment, and I held my breath, hoping he would snap back to reality. "Please, just come back," I pleaded, tears streaming down my cheeks. "You're not alone. I'm right here." I wished I could shake him awake, pull him back from wherever he had drifted. I remembered our beach trips, the way he would smile as we watched the waves crash against the rocks. He had always found joy in nature, a connection that I could never quite grasp. But now I wanted to understand. I needed to understand. As I knelt there, I thought of how much he loved sharing those ocean facts with me. I had often laughed them off, never truly engaging with his passion. But now those memories flooded back, and I felt an overwhelming need to keep him anchored here with me. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. "You've taught me so much," I said softly. "Please, just let me be there for you now." The humming continued, an unsettling reminder of his detachment. I felt a deep ache in my chest, realizing how far he had drifted away from me. "I remember the stories you told me," I said, hoping to reach him. "The ocean's waves, the sailors at sea. You always had such a fascination with it." I thought of the towel tradition, the sailors, covered in towels, waiting for help. It was haunting, yet it connected me to him in that moment. "I'm right here, waiting for you," I whispered, wishing he could hear me. And just like that, in the quiet of our home, I began to understand that the journey ahead wouldn't be easy. But as I knelt beside him, I felt a glimmer of hope. He might be lost in the depths of his mind, but I would fight for him. I refused to give up on my husband, no matter how far he had drifted. I would bring him back to me, piece by piece, if I had to. As I stayed by his side, I vowed to learn more about the ocean he loved. I would understand his fascination and his pain. Together, we would navigate these stormy waters, and I would ensure he never felt lost again.